Whenever I mention Hvar to anyone, I get the same reaction. They sort of smirk. They start talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce on a yacht, or, those beach clubs with 100-euro cocktails and just really loud music.
It's definitely earned that reputation.
It's become a caricature, right? The European party capital.
It has, especially in the last decade or so. But if you really dig into the archives, and I mean really dig past the glossy travel stuff and into the historical records, the UNESCO files, that whole reputation just feels so shallow.
Like judging a library by the graffiti on the outside wall.
Exactly. A perfect way to put it.
And that is exactly why I wanted to do this deep dive. Because we have a stack of sources here that suggest this island isn't defined by neon lights, but by light in a much more literal and ancient sense.
The Island of Light. That's the official branding, but it's not just a marketing slogan.
Right. And I want to start there, because usually when a place calls itself the Island of Sun, it's just fluff. But the data here is actually startling. We're talking 2,718 hours of sunshine a year.
It's the highest in the whole Adriatic. But what the sources point out is that this intensity of light did more than just, attract sunbathers.
It attracted thinkers.
Thinkers, mystics. For 2,400 years, this specific quality of light has been seen as a source of spiritual and intellectual clarity.
It's interesting you mentioned spiritual clarity, because the first thing that jumped out at me wasn't the beaches. It was the sheer density of heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, I was skeptical when I read that this one single island holds 6 UNESCO heritage statuses. That sounds padded. Huge countries sometimes only have a handful.
It does sound padded until you break them down. And what's fascinating is that they aren't just, old buildings. The list covers the tangible things you can touch and the intangible, the traditions that live in the people.
Okay, so let's start with the tangible. The Startigrad Plain. On Google Maps, this just looks like a patchwork of farm fields. Why would a bunch of plots get the same protections as the pyramids?
This is one of those things that really requires a geeky lens to appreciate. You have to understand what you're looking at.
Okay.
This isn't just a field. It is the best preserved example of the ancient Greek chora, that's their land division system, in the entire Mediterranean.
The chora. So we're talking about the actual geometry of the place.
Exactly. In 384 BC, Greeks from the island of Paros colonized this part of Hvar. They needed to distribute land. So they used a surveying instrument called a groma to lay out a perfect grid. Each plot was exactly 1x5 stadia.
Which is what in modern terms?
Roughly 180 by 900 meters. But the amazing thing is, the grids are still there.
After all that time.
That's the miracle. Usually over 24 centuries, empires change, boundaries get redrawn. But here, the dry stone walls that mark out those plots, they're in the exact same place they were in the 4th century BC.
That is wild. So a Greek ghost could come back and recognize his property line.
100%. And it wasn't just about marking territory. Hvar has no rivers, no lakes. So the Greeks built the walls as a hydroengineering system.
To catch water.
To channel rainwater. The walls have gutters that direct water into cisterns. It's a 2,400-year-old water management system that is still keeping the olive trees and vines alive today.
A living machine made of stone.
Precisely. And that technique, the dry stone walling, is another one of those UNESCO mentions. It's the art of building without any mortar, just gravity and friction.
Speaking of things that take incredible patience, let's talk about the lace. I saw lace on the list and almost skipped it. I thought, okay, doilies, grandmas, got it.
No, this is a kind of extreme crafting.
The sources on this were, almost metal.
It's the agave lace. And the first thing to know is that it's only made by the Benedictine nuns in the convent in Hvar town. Nowhere else in the world.
And they're not using cotton thread?
Not at all. They're using fresh leaves from the agave plant. Those massive, spiky succulents you see everywhere?
Yeah. How do you get lace out of one of those?
It's a surgical process. They take a fresh leaf and extract these thin white fibers from the core without breaking them. But here's the kicker. It's all dependent on the weather.
The weather? How?
If the air is too dry, like when the northern Bura wind blows, the fibers become brittle and just snap. If it's too humid, from the southern Jugo wind, they get mushy and can rot.
So they have to be amateur meteorologists just to do their work.
They literally have to watch the atmospheric pressure to know if it's a work day. And the other rule, no pattern.
No patterns.
None. They don't use stencils. Each nun creates the design out of her head as she works. Every single piece is unique and unrepeatable. It's devotion as much as it is art.
That theme of devotion it seems to run through all of these sources. This intense, almost suffering level of commitment. Which brings us to the Zakruzhin procession.
Following the cross.
I've seen religious processions. Usually it's a parade. Everyone goes home for lunch. This sounds more like an endurance event.
It's much closer to a pilgrimage. It happens on Maundy Thursday, the night before Good Friday, and it has happened every single year for 5 centuries.
Every year, even during wars.
Every year. It never stops. The logistics are what get me. It's 6 different villages, right? Jelsa, Pitve, Vriznik.
Sphere, Ver, Bonj, and Verboska.
Yeah. 6 villages, 6 parish churches. At 10 p.m., a procession leaves from each of the 6 churches at the exact same time.
And they move clockwise in this giant circle through the island.
Visiting the other 5 churches and returning to their own by dawn, it's about a 25-kilometer walk through the night.
And the golden rule is they can never meet.
Never. It's considered a terrible omen if 2 processions cross paths. So you have this perfectly synchronized movement of thousands of people shifting through the darkness.
And at the front of each group is the cross-bearer. The source described this as a heavy burden, but I feel like that's an understatement.
It's a massive physical and psychological weight. The cross itself can be up to 18 kilograms. The bearer walks the whole 25 kilometers, often barefoot or just in socks. He never stops.
And you don't just sign up for this.
No, you sign up when you're a child. The waiting list in some villages is 20 or 30 years long. Men spend their whole lives preparing for this one night.
The accounts describe the atmosphere as haunting. This archaic singing.
It's called Gospinplach, the weeping of Our Lady. It's this very old guttural chant. Imagine walking through pitch black olive groves at 3 a.m., hearing this mournful singing echoing off those ancient Greek stone walls.
Wow.
It's incredibly powerful. And then comes the climax, the sprint.
Right. After walking all night, totally exhausted, the cross-bearer reaches his home village square as the sun is coming up. And for the last 50 meters, he runs.
He sprints with the cross to the church. It's this final explosion of will.
It really challenges that party island narrative. You can't square Yacht Week with a 500-year-old barefoot pilgrimage. They're like 2 different planets.
And yet they coexist on the same small rock.
Okay, let's pivot to something that bridges that gap.
Yeah.
The smell. You can't talk about Hvar without talking about lavender.
The Lavender Island. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I have to admit, I rolled my eyes a bit at the legend of the priest. You know the one I mean. Poor boy loves rich girl, asks a priest what to do, and the priest says, plant lavender.
And he gets rich and marries the girl. Yes.
That sounds like a fairy tale the tourist board invented to sell essential oils.
It does sound like folklore, and it's probably romanticized. But it points to a real economic shift. There was a time when lavender was purple gold for Hvar. The island produced 10% of the world's lavender oil. That advice, plant lavender, was genuinely the ticket out of poverty for a lot of families.
But the reality of farming is the opposite of romantic.
Yeah.
The sources were very specific about the labor.
It's brutal work. Lavender grows best on dry, rocky slopes where you can't get machinery. So it's all done by hand with sickles. And because of the heat, the harvest starts early.
Like farmer early.
Like 4 a.m. early, you have to cut the flowers before the sun gets too high or the essential oils just evaporate. If you wait until noon, you lose potency. So you have farmers climbing these hills in the dark.